G'day everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel. So I just quickly want to start off this video by saying hopefully you lot had a fantastic Christmas and New Year's, finally in 2023, and yeah, hopefully this year we can continue some good success and fun on the channel. And as you can see, new backdrop behind me, moved things around in my room, new camera as well, gotten rid of the crappy old webcam, and yeah, keen to get into some more content for 2023. This is a video I did last year, wanting to do it again this year. In today's video, we're going to be going over every AFL team's New Year's resolution or main season goal for the upcoming 2023 season. Now, I do have to state by saying, of course, every AFL club's goal is to win the flag in 2023, but the goals I've set for each AFL club today is, of course, just tied to their expectations or specific scenarios of each club. If you're going to enjoy today's video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, that'd be much appreciated, and let's get into today's video. Rightio, kicking off with the Adelaide Crows, and for their New Year's resolution, I have them wanting to have just a strong output from their core of youth players. Of course, a side last year who just really turned a few heads. Of course, they were a team that wasn't really going to perch up the ladder in 2022, but just the strong competitiveness they showed week in, week out, was unable to get results, but just how really good they were in the contested game. They always just kept in it. You had to really grind them down to pick up a result against them. We saw that with multiple games throughout the season, finished in a good position around mid-table. Look, possibly they could probably still finish around that position, but you just have a look at their youth core. They're the second youngest team in the competition. Some names that were really good last year. I mean, Rochelle started off the season extremely well. I mean, Slayer was awesome too. 𝐓𝐴𝐿𝐴𝐴𝐵, hopefully he can develop a bit more. Of course, Fogarty has high potential. Berry in that midfield, such an underrated young gun. They've just got some really solid young core plays, and if they can develop nicely and just have a strong output in 2023, that could be a key for them to maybe shock the competition and really perch up the ladder this year. Moving on now to the Brisbane Lions, quite straightforward. Their New Year's resolution is for them to make a grand final berth. They've just been oh so close multiple years now. I literally this time last year said the exact same thing for them to make a grand final. Finished top 4 last year, sort of stalled a bit in 2022, was consistent, but at the same time they just dropped games they should have won. So they usually are quite good, the Lions, in home away season, but it's just when it comes finals time, they showed some really good signs. Obviously getting beat by Geelong, it happens, they weren't expected to beat that, but they just shocked a few opponents in the final series. But you know, they're in the pro on their list at the moment now. Huge additions in the off season, some awesome draft talents added. Gunston and Dunkley, they are just looking like such a good list. They really need to make a grand final in 2023. Moving on now to the Carlton Blues, and for their New Year's resolution, I have them finals or bust. That is just the saying, the motto for 2023, I reckon, for Carlton. If they do not make finals, I seriously think Michael Voss's position could be in a bit of jeopardy. They cannot afford to have another season without finals football. They showed really strong signs last year, just such a good inside game, contested game they did have, but just they lacked a lot of output from their role players when it really did matter. The outside game, they sort of got beaten in those areas, showed inconsistencies, they really should have made finals. But this year, they've just got to really knuckle down and just make the top 8. You know, it might seem like a bit of a, you know, really achievable goal, but seriously, there's some big pressure. Everyone expects them to make finals. They should get the job done. Their spine is looking good. They just are prime list at the moment. The additions of the likes of Akers and Hollands to improve their outside game is very strong too. They've got to make finals this year. It's finals or bust for Carlton in 2023. Moving on now to the Magpies, and a few New Year's resolutions, of course, they do have, but the main one I have them is for them just to maintain their transition game. This was the key ingredient for them to be a tremendous side in 2022 or have all those spectacular wins, because most of those wins, of course, were very close, but it was off the back of just bold transition play. This is how they beat opponents. It was just the defensive to forward 50 transition. That's what they were so special at. The likes of Darcy Moore, just so good by foot when he does have ball in hand, and the link-up play of like Sidebottom, Pendlebury and the Daicos brothers. That's just the area I think they just really need to maintain and keep that as, you know, one of the best in the business, because that could possibly be like their key ingredient to be a potential flag side in 2023. That's the area they're very good at. They've got to maintain that, because that's just how they won games so tremendously well in 2023. Moving now to the Bombers, and for their New Year's resolution, I have them just to prove the doubters wrong in 2023. New coach of Brad Scott. Last season was a season to forget, just full of all the board problems and the media chasing them all the time. Of course, there's going to be a lot of critics saying they'll probably be around that maybe bottom 4, bottom 6 position. But the thing is with the Bombers is they've got just a really talented list in multiple areas. Of course, if Jake Stringer can get back to his best, the likes of Archie Perkins and Sam Durham, Ben Hobbs, they've got some really star-studded names in there. Peter Ike can still kick 50 goals. And the additions, of course, of Sardis, they've got some exciting players and talented players in that list. And if they can just have some sort of motivation in the off-season, just really build that chemistry. They lack standards. They lack a bit of leadership as well. If they can just perch that up, prove the doubters wrong, they could seriously be smoky chance for finals in 2023. They've just got to play on their skins and play with just heaps amount of motivation. That's just really what they need. Moving on now to the Fremantle Dockers, and for their New Year's resolution, I have them to just display a threatening forward line. This is probably one of the big reasons why Freo are maybe not in that top echelon of teams in the competition. Of course, they still did win a finals game, but just the losses they had in 2022, the losses to Collingwood, the losses to the Demons, a lot of those losses, even to the Swans as well, they just struggled to put on points. It's quite an obvious one. We all know they just need to put on more points. They struggle to put on scoreboard pressure when it matters. The top goal scorer of Rory Lobb, of course, out of the club. So they just need to, if it's a Jai Miss or even a Josh Colbert they've brought over from the Gold Coast, they just really need to get things right in that forward line. This is why I still question if Freo can go all the way in 2023. They just need to develop that area specifically well. And just a side that needs to put on more points in 2023 if they want to become a threatening side, I do feel. Moving on now to the Geelong Cats, and for their New Year's resolution, quite simple, for them to do it all again. I think there are a genuine chance to go back to back. Just how they managed their older players so really well. Selwood and Dangerfield last year, they played limited minutes, but when it came to the big moments, Dangerfield, Selwood, and a few older heads in there too, they really starred in the games that really did matter in the final series. The injection of the young players, Nathanael Granites and Jack Bowes and 𝐼𝐻𝐿𝐴 𝐻ENRY and Jai Clark from the draft as well, I think they really can go back to back if they can just play with boldness. They won't go into their shells. They did that so well last year, just play with a lot more bold transition and ball movement. I think they are a really good chance to go back to back, and that is their main goal of 2023. Moving on now to the GWS Giants, and for their resolution of 2023, I have them just to start building now a strong culture at that footy club. Of course, their main problem is player retention. They've lost a heap amount of numbers in the off-season, the likes of Taranto and Hopper and Bobby Hill and Tanner Bruin. With the players they have brought in, quite an amount, a few from Victorian country, they just really need to focus on player retention and just building and bonding that playing list and having the least amount of players wanting to go back home or go back to Victoria. They need, of course, success, but they just need to become a tight-knit group. They probably still are, of course, off the field, I don't know that, but just to develop that culture alongside a healthy rebuild is just really what they need in 2023. Moving on now to the Gold Coast Suns, and for their New Year's resolution, I have them to just stay injury-free this year. This was just a massive roadblock to their season last year. You had the likes of 𝐓𝐿 and Connor Buderick and, of course, Ben King earlier in the season. Just a lot of season-ending injuries. Charlie Ballard had one late, of course. 𝐼𝐻𝐿𝐴 𝐻ENRY, I forgot to name him too. If they can just keep injury-free in 2023, have a limited amount of injuries to their important players, I think they're a really good chance to make finals. They are in that mix, but the main thing is they've got to keep injury-free, and they can be a really threatening side in 2023. Moving on now to the Hawks, and for their New Year's resolution, I have them just to really build the core really well and build the chemistry. Youngest side in the competition, of course, so there's going to be a lot of players that maybe have never really played with each other or not really many minutes played with each other, so might be a bit of a slow season, of course, in 2023, but if they can just on and off the field build that tight-knit group they really need to have. They've got some really good young names in there too. They just got to be, just one big happy family, I guess you could say. Build the chemistry right from day one, and if they can, keep players and just build and build and build, in 5 years' time, they're just going to be a really strong chemistry side. So for them just to rebuild well this year, build the chemistry, that's probably their main goal of 2023, of course, being competitive too. Moving on now to the Melbourne Demons, and for their New Year's resolution, I have them to structure up the forward line. This was maybe similar to Freo. This was probably their main problem with them not making the grand final, progressing further. As soon as Tom McDonald went down, I sort of made the bold statement by saying, I don't know if the Demons can win the flag, because with him out of the side, that's just totally stuffed up their structure. And what did we see? Pretty much every single one of the Demons' losses in 2022 from that point onwards was just them struggling to put on scoreboard pressure, struggling to reply and putting on points. The loss to the Sydney Swans and Freo, and especially to Collingwood twice, when they needed to respond back with points, they failed to. Of course, Bailey Fritsch and Cozzy Pickett were still alive, Neil Bullen in there, but just when it mattered, Ben Brown was leading, making terrible leads and all that stuff. They've just really got to structure things right in that forward line. They could just structure up that specific area well, they'll just be a threatening side, potentially again like they were in 2021, because they still have a tremendously good list. Moving on now to the North Melbourne Footy Club, and for their New Year's resolution, I could say, maybe similar to Hawthorn, build the culture. I think that is still important, but for them, I think it is just to start rising up the ladder. They're sick of being wooden spooners the past 2 years, cellar dwellers, or past 3 years, I guess you could say. And with the likes of Alistair Clarkson in the building, I think they're really focusing on just out of the bottom four, not just, okay, we're going to play it slow. I think they're really wanting to just attack the competition by the throat. They really want to be competitive in 2023. Build the culture, of course, that's the main thing. But just, start to really maybe chalk up wins or really catch a few opponents off guard. Because they're aside for the past 2 years now that have drafted really well. Few nice off-season activity, bringing in Daniel Howe and 𝐼𝐻𝐿𝐴𝐻 with a bit of experience. And they were really quite good contested side. They were very good on the clearances, so I think it's not past them for them to really shock a few opponents, maybe get a few sneaky wins and rise up the ladder in 2023. Moving on now to Port Adelaide, and for their New Year's resolution, I have them to just be back in the hunt for finals, back in the hunt in that top 4 race. For them, it's just they don't want to fall back into mediocrity. That's an area they don't want to go in. They want to be, again, a contending side for a premiership. Of course, Ken Ingley is one of the most under pressure coaches in the competition, but they do have the talent to really get back into finals. Jason Horne-Francis now in addition to that side, he could play out of his skin. Connor Rozee, Butters, they've just got the names in there. Charlie Dixon, if he can keep injury free in 2023, could absolutely blitz it. Even if 𝘼𝐿𝐴 and Tom Jonas can really get their form back too, for them it's just getting back in the hunt and really contending again in 2023. Moving on now to the Richmond Tigers, and for their New Year's resolution, it could be maybe a bridge too far for them, but I have them to just get back to their best. The likes of maybe Dusty Martin and of course Cotchin getting on now, it's probably going to be hard for them to reach back to their prime, but just back to their, they're really good at it with multiple games last year. Their old roots of just chaos footy, high pressure style, that's an area they can really capitalise in 2023, and the additions in the off-season they've had is of course really good too. They struggled a bit with contested ball, with the likes of Preston always being in and out of the side, but bringing in Taranto and Hopper is just two dream additions to their side, and a few younger players now with some more experience, Tyler Sonsie and 𝐓𝐿𝐴, you name it, and if Lynch can keep healthy too, they have really good potential to get back to their best in 2023, hence why I've gone with that for their New Year's resolution. Moving on now to St Kilda, and for their New Year's resolution, I have Ross the Boss for them to just try and remove the mediocrity from that side, improve the standards of that footy side. That's just what they desperately need. They are sick of finishing mid-table. There's just so many names in there. A mediocre list still, I do feel. Ross the Boss, he's a coach that can really bring the best out of any type of play. Jack Billings, Jake Gresham, they're sort of players that could become just real revelations for that club. And it might take a few years for Ross, for him to do that and for the whole thing to come to fruition. But for them, it's just being really a lot more competitive, because there was just a lot of games last year where they really did lack that. So yeah, just for Ross Lyon to really improve the standards of that side and just become a lot more of a competitive side in 2023 is their New Year's resolution for me. Moving now to the Sydney Swans, and for their New Year's resolution, I have them to just have short memories. Quite simply put, it was a grand final to forget last year, getting belted by over 80 points by the Cats. But on the flip side, they've just got such a talented list and just a really exciting team to watch. And it's just a matter of if their young players can just put that at the back of their minds. And, the likes of Buddy Franklin and Luke Parker, it seems that grand finals are almost their kryptonite. It's just for them to really rally around each other, just for them to forget that and just play the footy like they were in that second half of the year in 2023. It could be maybe a bit of a mental battle for them next year, or this year I should say, but yeah, just to remove that grand final loss and just out of the back of their heads and just focus on 2023. Have short memories is their New Year's resolution. Moving on now to the West Coast Eagles, and for their New Year's resolution, I've gone with them to have not only a competitive season, but just to have an injury-free side. Sort of similar to the Gold Coast Suns, they just had a lot of injury problems. A few of their premiership stars been out with injury here or there. You know, of course, the main likes of Oscar Allen and Campbell Chesser. You know, they're a side potentially I think will get out of the bottom four. You know, they're just a really well-run footy club, the Eagles. Might catch a few opponents off guard, I really do feel. And they're a side that's not really going to be in the bottom four for long, I do feel. So the main thing for them is to just show a lot more accountability, be really competitive, chalk up a few more wins, and of course, main thing I do have to say though is for them to just try and keep injury free, especially with a few of their young stars with the likes of Campbell Chesser and Oscar Allen. And for the final club, the Western Bulldogs, for their New Year's resolution, I have for them to be back into the top 4 hunt. It might be a bridge too far when you do hear that theoretically, but you still got to remember that they've got a really talented list. Might be hard to say that with their best and fairest winner of Josh Dunkley leaving the club, but take the likes of, you know, Treloar and Bontempelli and McRae. They were good, I guess you could say, in 2022, but they could have been a lot better. Maybe it's a bit of a coaching problem. A few of their assistants left in 2022 that were key to their premiership run the year before that. For them, it's not only to be back in the finals mix, but to be really competitive side in the top 4 hunt in 2023. So everyone, there was every AFL club's New Year's resolution for the upcoming 2023 AFL season. Thank you very much for tuning in. Feel free to comment down below and let me know what you think of every AFL club's resolution. But I think they are pretty reasonable goals, but a few of you might have a few different opinions. So I'd love to hear your fellas' thoughts down below in the comments. Once again, everyone, thank you very much for watching today's video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you wanted to enjoy. And until next time, I will talk to you later. See you later, fellas.